Reactions are pouring in after yesterday's decision by the state's grand jury not to file criminal charges against two Paterson police officers involved in the fatal shooting of 31-year-old Najee Seabrooks in 2023. Seabrooks, a violence intervention specialist, was killed following an hours-long standoff with police while he was having a mental health crisis. Despite calls from fellow intervention specialists to intervene, they were not allowed access. An investigation and the release of body camera footage shows that officers fatally shot Seabrooks after he moved toward police with a knife. His death sparked a firestorm and eventually led the city to take significant steps toward reform. However, as Ted Goldberg reports, yesterday's decision was disappointing but not surprising for community advocates.
Najee Seabrooks and others like him should still be alive today.
After a grand jury declined to indict the Paterson police officers who shot and killed Najee Seabrooks, social justice activists say they're disappointed, but not surprised.
The courts will always side with the police officers and not the victims because they will say that the police officers did with everything that they was legally required to do.
There needs to be more investigation, that the police officers need to be held accountable. And then we need this by having a systemic change, and by holding them to be accountable, we can reach that systemic change.
About 2 years ago, Seabrooks called 911 while experiencing a mental health crisis in Paterson. After police responded, it began a 5-hour standoff where Seabrooks locked himself in a bathroom, hurting himself and setting a fire in the bathroom, until body cam footage shows him emerging with a knife.
They did everything they possibly humanly could to try to de-escalate that situation. And, sometimes things just don't end up the way we want it to end up.
Paterson PBA President Angel Jimenez says these officers followed protocol and did nothing wrong. He also says the state's Attorney General's office was fair in investigating the shooting.
They were extremely thorough, in their investigation. But now I would hope that those individuals who accuse my members of murderers, that they would come out and apologize.
A few weeks after the shooting, the AG's office took over the Paterson Police Department. Seabrooks' death also sparked widespread protests and criticism of how police respond to people experiencing a mental health crisis.
15 years ago, I can understand having that feeling, but these guys, the training is different, so that 5-hour standoff that you guys, that we all know about is part of the training that has occurred in the last, 5 to 6 years with this AG.
Even if someone does have a weapon or is acting erratically, that does not mean that they deserve bullets. In that moment, they deserve patience, care.
There needs to be a mental health professional on scene at first responding, and that there is a continued issue here of the police being militarized, of there being police response to a health crisis, and that unfortunately the family of Najee Seabrooks is not going to be able to see this play out in the courts and potentially get justice here.
Arrive Together is a statewide program that pairs mental health professionals with police to respond to certain 911 calls. Jimenez says it's an option for Paterson in the future.
Very open to that, but it doesn't mean that it's going to prevent something like this from happening, right? You know what I mean? Like, you have someone that's barricaded, someone that's being, a situation where someone's being violent.
When a victim, a potential victim, sees officers, in riot gear, or multiple officers, armed inside their homes, they feel threatened, especially individuals who may not be in their correct mental state.
In response to Najee's death, the Seabrooks Washington bill was introduced, named in Seabrooks' honor, and appropriates $12 million in state funds to community response teams. As for the Paterson Police Department, the state Supreme Court will hear arguments in the next month about whether or not it's constitutional for the AG to take it over in a lawsuit brought by the state's PBA.
It is well within the Attorney General's authority to supersede a police department, and that authority has been granted by the legislature of the New Jersey, and it's something that has repeated over the course of history under the office of the Attorney General.
And late last week, the Seabrooks family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the city of Paterson, the family hoping someone will someday be held accountable for the death of their loved one. For NJ Spotlight News, I'm Ted Goldberg.